I really love graphic design because it's essentially the act of visual problem solving. You're presented with a problem and you have to find a visual solution that is best for not only the client, but their client base and their customers. I would say that with anything, rules are made to be broken. The design world is like that. I think it's really important to know the rules and learn them and know how to follow them before you take yourself away from that course, because when you're taking yourself away, you have to do it with intention. You have to know, like, there's a reason that you're making this decision and not just to defy, you know, whatever the standards are. So that being said, the standards are important, but they're not concrete. I entered the design world almost a little bit by accident. I think I didn't really know what it was and that I had really been doing it all along. When I was young, I was really artistic, I was really creative, you know, people knew me as the artsy kid. I did a lot of illustrating, but I also started to get into the computer world. I would build websites back in the free Yahoo Pages days. I would create like invitations and social media things for people just for fun because it interested me, and I didn't know that that's what graphic design was. It was taking your creativity and your visual art and using it to communicate a very specific message for a very specific purpose. Hi, my name is Emmy Peterson. I'm a graphic designer here at Craft Creative, and we are having MasterCraft. Today I'm going to talk to you about logo design. Logo design is something that's really important in the design world. It's important because that particular thing is the face of your entire brand. A lot of companies don't realize that when customers and clients approach you, one of the first points of contact is your logo. It communicates what kind of a business you are, what values you have. I think logos are taken for granted because they're something so simple, but they carry so much weight and so much value. I'd say that above all, the most important thing a logo needs to do is it needs to be able to work on a billboard and a business card. You need something that is going to be equally as impactful if it's tiny and in black and white or huge and in color. The other thing is that you have to know what style choices identify your company, your industry, your brand. So while something might be really appropriate for food service or restaurant, might not be appropriate for healthcare or banking. Sometimes a good logo is as simple as the right typography choice. And sometimes a bad logo is as simple as the wrong typography choice. It's these little decisions that your professional graphic designer has the skills to make. So when I get an assignment for a new logo for a new client, like a brand that may be starting from scratch and needs a complete new identity, the first step is always research. You have to know your client, what's important to them, what they need to communicate. Sometimes this is just about asking them questions. Sometimes it's about researching the history of their company, their brand, and what they're about. You need to know what you need to represent before getting started. After research, I really like to get my hands dirty and start sketching in my sketchbook. It's really important to me to do thumbnails and actual physical sketches. I like to oftentimes play with different elements with my pencil, find out how they interact with each other, different ways that the forms can work and communicate. I'm really fond of letter forms and abstracting them in different ways. Like for instance, this logo that I'm about to talk to you guys about, it's a logo for a local law firm. It's their first logo, so they didn't have an identity at all before this. This particular client has a first name that starts with a B and a surname that also starts with a B. So I had this sort of two B's to work with, and I really played around with that concept and how that can add some interest or dimensionality to the logo. Especially since it is a law firm, more than anything else, they're going to be identified by their name. And so that's why I made the decision to carry on the name more than anything else. So I sort of worked with abstracting this B letter form in different ways, sort of played with dimension and how that could work. And then I started to introduce other elements. I was really fond of the idea of a shield. This is a defense law firm, and shields tend to remind us of defense. They also tend to communicate strength and status, which I think is really important for this client. So I sort of started combining the B's with shields in various ways. I also had a few other ideas that I was playing with here, but ultimately I arrived at wanting to use the shield shape and this dimensional B before moving on to digital compositions. So after I've gotten some thumbnails and concepts that I feel really strongly about, I like to move on to digital compositions. There are really no rules for this part of the process. There can be as many as 2, 3, 4 different concepts. Sometimes you combine different ones together to make a new one. Just sort of play, make decisions until you've arrived at something that really speaks to your message. And here you can see my final composition for this logo. I wanted the focal point to be this dimensional beat. It's something that I explored in my thumbnails and eventually carried over to the digital composition. I like that it mirrors the client's name and also that it adds a little dimension and just that little bit of interest to the overall logo. It should be the first thing that the viewer sees when they look. I chose a clean, modern sans serif typeface because this lawyer is a pretty clean, modern, progressive dude. He doesn't want the image of appearing stuffy or conservative, and so this choice of typeface helps to give him that demographic that he's looking for. I also increased the tracking between the letters a little bit to give it a little bit more of a stately look. Well, hopefully you're a little bit more familiar with the world of logo design. I hope that you've learned that when you become more empowered and more educated about design and the strength behind it, you empower your business and you also empower your clients. A lot goes into a good logo design. It can sometimes be a little overwhelming. And it's just important to know that when you make those decisions correctly, it's going to reflect positively on your brand and it can carry you a really long way. Think deeply about what you want to say to your customers, about the message that you want to send, and about the face that you want to put forward. And I want to thank you for watching MasterCraft today. Once again, I'm Emmy Peterson. We craft creative.